putting yourself out there, go to your local bookstore, ask them if they have a section for indie authors. A lot of them will let you put your books in there for free if they don't have a section. Some have a little fee. Some will split, they'll do consignment, So that's another way to get your books out there. Go to your community center, see if they have any openings for you to come in and do book signings, because sometimes you can do it there for free, or coffee shops, or there's a lot of places, to do book signings where you don't have to book it and pay. I haven't paid to do a book signing yet, and I couldn't tell you how many I've done. I've done a lot. Haven't booked one venue. Okay. So a lot of times you can get access to spaces just because they think that you're going to bring a audience. And even if you don't, they'll love that you take pictures and post it on your social media. I'm going to be at so-and-so. Please join me for a great cup of coffee. You take a picture. That's free advertising for them. They don't know how many people will follow you. So there are a lot of little coffee shops, community centers, or whatever, libraries I've had libraries pay me to come in. I've had libraries literally pay me to come in and do a talk, do a workshop. So there's a lot of opportunities if you just go talk to people. Just talk to them. Bring your book with you. I would say if you're an author, you should always have a copy of your book. Always. Always. I have a backpack. I have all 4 of my books in my backpack. The only place I don't take them is someplace where I feel like they're going to open it and search it and say, you can't bring this in here. If it's anywhere else, I've got my backpack.
Okay, everyone, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. I have somebody on today with the best name ever, I think. Yeah, definitely. I need a little bit more information on your name because it's a beautiful name. Zen is with me today. Zen, welcome to the podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, Zen Ase is actually my stage name, but I actually was called Zen for about 25 years. So I could do actually a poem if you want a spoken word.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, let's do that.
My name is Zen Ase, and I will now unfold the story behind that name and the lessons that it holds. 20 years ago, I worked my way through college ed. Waitressing, I paid the bills, 3 jobs in all, I bled. A day arrived so full of strife, coworkers craved the pill that kept a smile upon my face when they all wanted to kill. What are you on that gives you rest? I need some of your Zen, they stressed. I smiled and just confessed, my faith is all I need. Fast forward 10, and once again a day arrived with rage, and in the midst of chaos, others marveled at my grace. Hung around, embraced my calm, my total centeredness. Again they intoned Zen you be, but I did not see that in me until I embraced my destiny. I had to give in. It took me 20 years to see the purpose of my life, to calm and soothe and to inspire, to dim effects of strife. Ashe came next, a word that means so be it, like amen. Yoruba in origin, it bonds me to lost kin, yet deeper still, like Shayla written in the Psalms, it means be still and meditate on what you read, ponder long. Yet even more, it means my words exhale with force. They live, they breathe, they change the world. They alter my own course. A writer and a poet, this name states my destiny to exhale living, breathing words that change humanity, that encourage people to consider truth and challenge them to grow. Because at the end of everything, self-knowledge must unfold. And so now you know my purpose and you understand my plan. You have just entered the state of Zen. Never be the same again.
Okay, I think we can just stop right now. We're done. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming out. What a great podcast. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. I don't even know what to say. My name is Dave. That's all I have. And I'm like, oh, I feel really like I need to work on this. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I seriously have no idea where to go now. That was so great.
You can start wherever you were going to start in the beginning. I'm sorry I threw you off. I didn't mean to throw you off.
No, I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. That was beautiful. Okay. Zen, welcome to the podcast. So great to have you here. Thank you for kicking us off in the most unique way I have ever seen on a podcast. That's beautiful. I can tell that you know what you're doing, and we're going to get into all that. That's great. Can you share with everybody where you're joining me today here in this great world of ours?
I am in North Houston, so like 10 minutes outside of Houston, in a little community called Spring. So I'm between Houston and the Woodlands.
Okay. Excellent. And when we talked a while back, you had mentioned that you were just recently retired, but that's not really the situation where I would think a typical retirement would be, because nothing is typical so far when I've spoken to you, which I love. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with you? Career-wise, you've made a big shift. What's happening?
I taught for 30 years. I taught 2 years in the middle school, and then I taught 28 years at high school. And January 20th, I retired. And I didn't know, I had been working on my exit plan for a while because I had been writing books and doing workshops and performing and doing other things. But, I didn't know if I was going to just sit down for a while. But then I've worked since I was 18, so I didn't really know how to sit down and be still. And so within a few days of retiring, I was already going on interviews, and I decided I was going to tutor. And so I'm actually working twice a week tutoring now. So I have a job. And then I decided to really put myself out there. So I joined like 3 networking groups. And this is February the 20th. And in 20 days, I've done 18 events, so 19, including this podcast. So either virtual events or in-person events, plus I'm working 2 days a week tutoring. So yeah, it's not typical retirement at all.
My gosh. Well, thank you again for serving your community and teaching, and I can tell that you would be one of my favorite teachers had I had you in my classrooms. I would have loved having you. What was one of your joys as a teacher that brought you back day to day and inspired you working with kids? What was it for you?
I think there were 2 things that really inspired me. One was being able to introduce children to knowledge, because learning how to learn to me is power. Then you don't have to wait for somebody to spoon feed you things. You can go find it yourself. So when kids really learned how to learn, and they learned how to research, they learned how to think, how to problem solve, how to even debate topics and not take things personally. Those kind of things to me are life skills. And so that was really exciting to me. And then, of course, seeing kids grow, they come to you at one point, and then you can see them grow and develop through the year, and they leave you at a different point. That was another joy that I had.
Beautiful. I love that. That's amazing. So on top of everything else you have going on in the world, you also have a podcast, and I've been listening to it. It's great, by the way. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast and your podcast journey? I'd love to talk about that too.
Well, yes. As you saw from the opening, I'm a spoken word artist. When quarantine happened in 2020, I had been performing for 2 years. I've been building my audience for 2 years. And then everything shut down for Houston on the Ides of March. The Ides of March was like the day that everything stopped. It was all the restaurants closed after that day. So if you know, literature, the Ides of March was when Julius Caesar was told, beware the Ides of March, and they stabbed him to death. So it was the 15th of March. So that 16th was when everything closed down, and I was sitting at home, and I'm like, I'm going to lose my audience. I've worked so hard to build this up, to get a following, and they're just going to go? What am I going to do? So I decided, people had said I had a great voice. They said I should do a podcast. I had never listened to a podcast before. I didn't know what they were. So I actually took a podcasting class while we were sitting in our houses, locked down. And I did that for a couple of months. And then I was like, okay, this thing is going to take me forever to finish. I think I know enough. And but during that couple of months, I had been doing a lot of journaling. And I had been focusing on what I still had, that quarantine hadn't taken away, that, we were having all kind of issues with Trump at the time, that Trump hadn't taken away, that we were having a George Floyd situation, lots of riots and marches and protests. And so that racism and discrimination hadn't taken away. What did I still have? And I noticed that my journals were very topical. I would talk about, I still have an abundance mentality. I can still be aware of what's going on in the world, and that can help me make informed decisions. I can have balance. I can have boundaries. So I just kind of was going A to Z. And I was like, I could do a podcast. Like every week we could talk about a topic. I could bring people in. They could talk about how this is helping them cope with quarantine, how it's giving them a focus for self-development, and how they're grateful for their journey in this area, what obstacles have they faced, what role models, what books, what movies, what music, relates to this topic, and then their own personal journey. As an entrepreneur, as an artist, so that's kind of the format. It's like 30 minutes on the topic, self-development topic, and then 30 minutes on the person or organization. And so it ends up being very interesting discussions because you never kind of know where they're going to go. And so that's kind of the journey with the podcast. And it just kind of took on a life of its own because I had people, reaching out to me from Japan and Canada and Jamaica. And I just like, so it just kind of became international because anything on the internet can go anywhere. And so then it became top 10% globally. And it actually led to all the books that I wrote because the audience was saying, where's your journaling book? Where's your poetry book? Where's this? That? And I was like, oh, well, okay, give me a minute. And that's kind of my podcasting journey.
So from your perspective as an author, how do you see the connection between podcasting and being an author? Do you think they kind of work together hand in hand?
For me, it did. I always wanted to be an author, but my goal was to write fiction. And I did write a fiction book years ago, and I sent it to some agents, and they all had different critiques, and I ended up tearing the book apart, and it's sitting in my closet now. I never put it back together. I got lost in all the edits that they told me to do. And I didn't even know what to do with it. So it's just sitting there. But, for me, people had problems that I did feel that I had some expertise to solve. And because of the questions they were asking me, it gave me a very definite, plan, I guess, of what I was going to write. So the first book I wrote was a guided journal, and it was just 29 pages. And I looked at the fact that I had been journaling since 5th grade, and I had bought a bunch of guided journals, but I never finished them. They were 365 pages, and they kept asking the same questions. So I was like, I want to give people something that's going to be like our brain works. Our brain pulls in role models and music and movies. It asks questions. We have scrapbooking. A lot of people like to scrapbook. So there were places where they could do vision boards, and there were places for affirmations and goals and there was a lot of different activities in there. And so that's what people liked about it. It was not like anything that they had seen in the journaling realm. It wasn't specifically just about writing. It was really about tapping into all the things that we use to learn. And so that's, that was my journey as an author, was people asking me to teach them things and then me showing them what I had learned in journaling since 5th grade, what I had learned in my personal healing journey, what I had learned, as a child growing up and having kind of an abandonment wound, so I ended up putting my expertise into books. And then I had an audience waiting for it, which was beautiful because as soon as it hit Amazon, it already, like, the first 3 books I had were all in the top 10 in new releases. 2 of them debuted at number 1. So for me, if I hadn't had that audience, and if I hadn't had a lot of help from my editor, because we spent like 60 days doing our book launch. So I got a lot of help, But for me, that journey was a really beautiful one because I had an audience that was supporting me, asking me for things, wanting certain things. And then I had an editor that was saying, okay, this is how we're going to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was very helpful for me. And I don't think I would have been, I can't picture being as successful had things not happened the way they happened.
What have you learned about yourself in the author journey? Like, have you kind of unpacked and discovered something about yourself that maybe you hadn't seen teaching in your past career?
Oh yeah, definitely. This was my second book. It's called Plenty of Guppies and Other Dating Misadventures, Life, Loss, and Lessons of Love from 101 Dates, a memoir told in poetry and prose. So, when I wrote this is 7 years of my life. And in writing this book, I went back to my journals because I told you I've been journaling since 5th grade. And I hadn't gone back and looked at that stuff in years. And so going back and reading that, it was like, oh my God, I saw so many lessons. I saw so much change. I saw so much growth. I saw epiphanies. Things fell in, like my whole life made sense. So like in writing this book, it was like so many things that I didn't understand about myself. I understood about other people. I understood because it was like pulling back and taking a bird's eye view of the whole thing. And when you're on the ground, you don't see the picture, but when you pull back to that like drone, you know, you see the picture so clearly. So it was totally transformative. I think everybody should write a memoir. Just because it will blow your mind. You'll learn so much about yourself. So yeah. So that one was the most transformative. But even my children's book helped me to deal with, my difficult childhood, which is something that I really thought I was past, but issues kept coming up. And then I was able to kind of, I guess you could say, purge and heal through writing that book. And face some of those wounds, you know. So yeah, I think I grew a lot. I learned a lot. I changed a lot through writing. Writing is transformative for me. Yeah.
I see a lot of variety in what you're writing as well. You're not writing one genre, one style, one format. You're diverse, which I love. Is that one of your superpowers?
I think so. I actually think I might be ADD because when I was writing this book, we were editing this book, and let's see, this book came out December 16th. Okay. In October, when I was working on this book, I told my editor, I said, I've already started writing a second book. And she was like, we're not finished with the first one. I was like, I know, but I can't stop writing it. I started it and I can't stop now. I have to get it out. It's like, it won't let me sleep. So I started writing this one. So this one came out in February of the next year. And then the same thing happened when I was writing this book. This one, I ended up starting. So this one came out in December. This one came out in January. But I also have twins. So I told my editor, I said, I think I produce things in twos. I don't think I can do one at a time because I gave birth to 2 babies and now I'm giving birth to 2 books at a time, even though one comes out slightly after the other. So it's just my brain. It gets focused and very, I guess you could say, drawn to certain ideas. And once it's fixated on that, it's like I have to finish it. It's like I can't not finish it because it's just nagging at me it's just nagging at me. I can't shut it off. So that's what the way it's been for me in these past 2 years. So.
Wow. And that's a small window of time as well to write that many books. Is this just the start for you, or are you pausing now at this stage and kind of celebrating what you've already accomplished and kind of refocusing? What's next? Because most people write 4 books over a longer period of time. I'm interested to see what's coming.
I do feel that there's more children's books coming. I do feel that I'll do a different planner. I do feel there's more coming. When it's going to happen, I don't know, because it's kind of this thing of, I'm a poet by nature. So a lot of what I do is inspiration. And when the inspiration hits, there's a book, I think it was called The Big Idea or something like Big Magic or something like that. And she basically says, when the muse comes, you gotta grab it, because you have no control over the muse. The muse can show up today, and if you don't seize it today, it will go take that idea to somebody else. And you'll be saying, I had that idea, but you didn't act on it. You know what I mean? So, for me, when the muse hits, I just follow the muse. I just follow that, because that has been very, it's worked for me. And I feel very grateful to God, to the ancestors, because I don't know who's speaking when those ideas, those inspirational ideas come. I don't know where it's coming from in the ether, but it's like in my ear. And then I just latch onto it and bring it to life. So, so I don't know what's coming. I mean, I have a feeling there's more coming, but when, I couldn't tell you.
Okay, so some of our audience listening today are authors listening to our conversation. I'm interested from your perspective on some of the things that you've learned that we can share directly with an author listening to inspire them to get their message out. Maybe they're stuck. They haven't even started yet. They know they have a message. They know they want to write their memoir. They want to write something, but they just need that little push to say, oh, it's good, you can go. Don't worry about being an imposter syndrome, all that stuff. Just write. Any kind of words of wisdom for somebody who's at the very beginning of their journey?
Yeah, I think that, there's a saying that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. You don't need to see where you're going to end up. You just need to start moving. And I also believe that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So for me, this first book that I did, The Guided Journal, I did have a little bit of imposter syndrome, even though I was journaling since 5th grade. So what I did a beta version of this. I wrote it. I went to one of those little workbook companies, where you can do a pamphlet for your business. And I printed 50 copies, because I Googled and found out that the average self-published writer only sells 200 books in their lifetime. Okay. That was the stat that I saw. So I was like, let me make 50 copies. And I knew that as a teacher, I knew that I could do workshops. So I put a workshop out on Eventbrite. I said, I'm going to do it's vision board time. You know what I'm saying? Let's come in. We're not going to do a vision board, but we're going to do guided journaling to get ready for the new year. And I had about 10 people show up for the workshop. And as part of their workshop price, they got the book. Okay. They got this beta version of my book, right? And the workshop went fabulous. They loved the workbook. They told people about it. I sold those 50 copies in probably a month and a half. I was like, oh, so I got another 50 copies and the same thing happened. So when I decided I was going to get an editor, I was like, okay, now I want to get it. Now this is just a workbook. It looks like a workbook. It looks like something, it doesn't look like this. Okay. I wanted to get a professional cover done. I wanted to get an editor to look at it. I wanted to get somebody to give me some feedback. And so, one of my poet friends had just released her poetry book, and she did hit the bestsellers list, like number 78 or something like that. I was like, well, if she can hit the bestsellers list with poetry, I think I could do it with a guided journal. People talk about journaling. So that was me. I put out a beta version. Now, people can do, what do you call those things, where they get the readers, the beta readers and things like that. You can do that if you want to get some feedback on your book. So that's another way of doing that. But for me, once I had the beta version, and I had sold 200 copies of the beta version before this ever went on Amazon.
Wow.
And the 200 copies I sold from January till November And then this came out in December. And so in 11 months, I had sold 200 copies. So that was, like I said, I had already went over the estimated, lifetime of the book, according to the stats. Now, of course, we know there are people that sell 50,000 books, but I'm talking about, I was just trying to compete with that, the average writer, I'm better than average. I'm better than average on the self-published.
Wow.
And so when I got my editor, she told me, she says, I'm going to give you a list of things. It's going to take you at least 30 days to do this. If you do this, you will, she said, everybody, the last 7 people I gave this list to, they all hit the bestsellers list. She said, I can't guarantee it, but you got a really good shot. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And it took me at least 65, 70 days to do it. It was much bigger than the 30-day job for me. But that was, it took a lot of things. There was a lot going into getting this book to hit number 9 in Mind, Body, and Spirit,
Wow.
in new releases. So it was a lot of work, but we did it. So yeah, it can be done. I think that you need to have a mentor or somebody who knows what they're doing, and then follow their guidance, and then you can be successful. Yeah.
So was that your mentor then that was leading you through this process?
Well, in writing, yeah, in a sense, she was a publisher who'd been in publishing for 25 years, and she used to work in New York, and now she's in Houston. So she knew the publishing industry. She wasn't, she wasn't a newbie.
Wow. Okay. So from your long tenure as a teaching, do you think that you're able to pull from that background and resource as you write? Does that give you a little bit of an advantage maybe as you approach your writing career?
I do think it may, because I'm widely read. I read probably a book a week, either audiobook or, paper book. Yeah. So I do read widely. I'm an English teacher, so I know about editing and formatting. I know a lot of things, but still, I still need an editor, so I think that there was some advantage. I know how to do research. There's certain things I know how to do, but then again, like I said, I know my limitations. I know that I have no background in publishing, so I went and hired an expert to guide me through the process. So I think that people can have an advantage, but I also think that you have to be realistic about what you don't know. Because what I didn't want was to put my book out on Amazon and it just be sitting there with all the other books. And then, you pay to self-publish, because you can publish for free. You can just put something together and figure out how to format it and put it out there and spend nothing. But to me, it was worth it to spend the money. Okay. Cause like for my first book, it was $1,000 for everything. The cover, the book launch, she handled my social media, all that stuff. But I made that back like in just a few months, so it was not, now it's any sale I make is profit for that book, so, and it's passive income. So it's an investment.
You just got like a bunch of ears went, oh, passive income? Oh, what? Yeah. Yeah. Just by saying that, that's great. People are like, wait, what? Yeah. Yeah.
We could be sitting on this podcast right now and people could be Googling me and going and buying the book. So I am not actively saying, hey, go look at my book. Here it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at a vending event. While I'm sleeping, books could be selling. While I'm in the grocery store, on the phone. So it's passive income once you get it out there, but also you have to keep it in the public eye. I post about my books at least once a week, at least, if not more. I have a lot of marketing things. I hand out stickers. I like I said, I just joined 3 networking groups. I went and handed out bookmarks to every person that I got in front of, and they have a QR code with all my links on it. And they have the titles of the books, the cover of the book. Yep. For 2,000 bookmarks, I got them from Uprint. For 2,000 bookmarks, it was $81. 2,000 bookmarks, $81. Okay.
Wow.
I only have to sell 8 of those books to make the eight books to pay for 2,000 bookmarks.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. And then for me, I'm a woman. So this is one of my books right here. And I guarantee these are
Really? What?
So when I was in McDonald's today wearing these, and a woman's like, "Is that a book?" I said, "Yes, this is my book." She says, "Really?" I said, "Yes, I have 4 books. Could I give you a bookmark?" She says, "Yes." I handed her a bookmark. She asked for it. She doesn't feel like I'm selling her. She doesn't feel like I'm selling her, because had she not even asked, I wasn't even thinking about. I'm looking at the menu. You know, what am I going to get for breakfast? So, you know, there's ways to, anything that you buy for advertising is tax deductible. If you have a shirt with your book cover on it, that's advertising. You can write that off, you know, so.
Right.
Yeah. So these are tax deductible.
Okay, so we're getting into some tips now for authors, and I love this. When we talked, we were talking about some strategies for your book launch. We kind of got into this a little bit. We didn't really get into all of it, but I'd love to kind of help authors that are looking at launching their book. They're done, it's written, and now it's time to get this book into the world. Like you said, you can put it on Amazon and just hope somebody finds it, or you can, you know, talk to a potential listener in McDonald's. So I love that example. Can you give us some really good practical launch tips that have worked for you in addition to what we've already talked about?
Yes. So you need to start way in advance. We started about 60 days in advance, and we created a list of all of the different topics that were really resonating in the public. Like for this book, wellness, mental health, de-stressing, mindfulness, meditation. These are all big niches. All right. So, so every category that we had, we created a little pitch for that niche, and we created flyers for that niche. And then once we had everything kind of organized, we started about 30 days, you know, during this first part, we're doing the planning. I'm building my email list. All right. I'm everywhere I go, I'm getting emails everywhere I go. I'm getting emails. And so I'm trying to build the email list as big as I can make it. Now, once you have the emails, then you want to start letting people know what's coming. You want to start building up energy. Just like if you turn on the TV and a movie's coming out, they start advertising that thing like 4 months in advance. They start showing you trailers. You can go on. I went to Fiverr and I got a beautiful trailer for my book for like $30. All right. And it looks like a movie trailer. It literally looks like a movie trailer. All right. It's got people, real people in it, journaling. And then it's got the words, all the key words that we came up with. Those are going across the screen with some nice music. And so you want to start putting that stuff out about 30 days in advance. Like posting, first we were posting like maybe about once a week for like about 30 days. And then when it came to like the last 30 days, we were posting like every other day. And every time we posted, it was slightly different. We were trying to hit a different demographic, a different niche. So like I said, that's why you need like about 15 different topics or 15 different groups. So this could be something that you give to your teen who's going through a different, struggle. This could be something you give to somebody transitioning out of a career. They lost their job. It'll be a birthday present, anniversary present, so we're just trying to think of all these different things, graduation present.
Yeah.
It's January. You're doing your vision board. Here's something to give somebody for their new, their new year, new me. So we're thinking about all of these different ways we can market it. And every pitch is slightly different. So email list, have all the different categories, post very frequently. And then you've got to do the countdown. And then you're going to have to get everybody that you can get to commit to buy on the same day. Because your launch date is the most important thing. When you're a new release, you're only competing against new releases, and that it varies, but it's about 30 days or so. You're a new release. So I'm only competing with new releases. So I can hit the bestsellers list a lot easier if I'm only competing with new releases. And in general, depending on your niche, you want to get into the smallest niche on Amazon that you can get into. Like mine, this one I put in New Thought, which is the same category The Secret's in. And I put it in Mind, Body, and Spirit under New Thought. So that's like a tiny niche. So it was much easier than if I put it in self-help. Self-help is huge.
Yeah,
it is a self-help book, but I don't want to put it in that niche because it's too broad. There's too many books in there to compete with. But in New Thought, that's only books on affirmations, on meditation, on mindset. That's all I'm competing with. I'm not competing with self-help for, all these other things. I'm just competing with this smaller niche. So you want to get the smallest niche if it's your book. You want to get everybody to buy on the same day. And then you want to watch Amazon as much as you can that day because they run the reports on sales continually. Like every hour it'll update. And then you want to see if your book hits the bestsellers list. And as soon as you see it hit, you want to take a screenshot and post it. My book is the bestseller because then people are going to see that. Everybody likes to be popular. They like to get on the bandwagon. So when you can post it, it's number 5, number 10, even if it's number 98, anything in the top 100, post that. And then, oh man, if you haven't gotten it, go get it. It's a bestseller. This is the next biggest thing. You want to try to hype it up as much as you can. I was posting every day the number of my book. It was number 1. This one was number 9. It was number 9. It was number 20. It was number, whatever. Every day I went and checked it in the morning. I took a little screenshot. I posted where it was. I guarantee you this book stayed on the bestsellers list and new releases for about 37 days. But it was because I constantly was reminding people. I was constantly reminding people and put it as a Kindle Unlimited book because it's free. If they have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, it's free to them. They just have to use a credit. So you can get a whole lot of sales on Kindle Unlimited because they don't have to come off any money. They just have to use their credit. And sometimes people are always looking for credits. Like, I don't know what to get next. Oh, well, this is a bestseller. Let me get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's also going to be trending across Amazon. So tell your people at work, And then I got my bookmarks before the book came out. So I went on Get Covers. Get Covers did my covers. This cover cost $35. The bookmark.
It's beautiful.
Yes. The bookmark was another $15 for them to design the bookmark. So all together they did a flyer for a mock-up of the book. And I had another thing done. What was it? It was a release date. I had the release date put on a flyer. So for those 4 things from Get Covers, it was $100. $100. Wow. Okay. And then I got the bookmarks. I told you that's $81 for 2,000 bookmarks. Yeah. I'm handing bookmarks to everybody. And Linktree. Okay. Soon as we had the link for Amazon, it's on my Linktree. I hand you this bookmark. You got the cover on the bookmark. You got the key points that are going to hit all these different niches. Okay. Nice. And then you got, then you got the QR code. All they got to do is scan it. It takes them directly to Amazon. They don't have to think. They don't have to search. Scan, and they're there. You want to make buying this book the easiest thing somebody can do. They scan it, and they're there. So you make it easy. You make it inexpensive. You make it feel like it's a hype thing, and that'll be, and then all those flyers that I got, I don't have to get rid of any of those. We did a flyer that's coming out, I can go on Flyer Maker and I can change a couple of the details. Like instead of a launch date, it could be Christmas gift. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah,
I could take those images and reuse them. So all those flyers that I got from my editor, from Get Covers, all this stuff, I reuse it. The book came out in 2021, Christmas 2022. I was using those same flyers.
Mm-hmm.
I just saved in my gallery. I just went in and tweaked a few things. In Canva, I posted my wall, Flyer Maker, whichever one would work for that particular design. Reuse, recycle. Yeah.
I love that. And again, not everyone's going to see every post, right away.
Right.
So you can talk to your audience again and again. And it's not going to be annoying to your audience, right? Because if somebody's, for some reason, is not happy with a post, they just won't follow. The people that are here following you are here for a reason. They're your community. Right. They love what you're doing. They're here to follow you and support you. So don't be afraid to get out there in front of people and talk about what's happening and keep them in the loop and bring them along on the journey like you talked about. That's amazing.
Yeah. I heard someone say that you only need 100 true fans. If you have 100 true fans that will buy whatever you put out, they literally can fund your business, because whatever you put out, they support it. And not only do they support it, they recommend it. And that's another thing you want to try to do is get people to share. Hey, would you like this? Would you share this? Would you tell anybody you think might be interested in it? And all you're doing is asking. I have been an author for 2 years. I have never had a single person on my Facebook, Instagram, whatever, say, why do you post so much? Never. It's never happened to me. It's never happened. Because if they don't want to see you, they will unfollow you. They'll say, stop seeing, you know what I'm saying? I've never had anybody directly say anything to me. And I really I might have maybe in the whole time I've been doing this, I think I've only had 1 or 2 people that I know of that just unfollowed me. But it's never been a problem because it's not obnoxious. It's just a post. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. People look at it and scroll on. And if they like it, they like it. If they comment, they comment. If they don't, they just keep going through their feed. It's just a post. So
I love it. What about just community building? Any tips for authors on surrounding yourself with a good community and how to encourage your community to interact with each other and with you?
I do have a Facebook group that I created. For me, community building is about providing value rather than selling. It's about if you see something that your community could benefit from or that you think is uplift. It depends on your brand. My brand is wellness. So I post a lot of wellness stuff. My brand is inspiration. So I post a lot of inspirational stuff. So, for every 2 posts that I might post, that's a selling post. A lot of times I've posted a week's worth of content has nothing to do with sales. It's something that I thought was funny. It's my day-to-day life. It's a poem I wrote. It's other stuff. So you have to be a real person, in a sense, like, when I think of a real person, I think of Tabitha Brown, she'll come out and say, hey, this is my new brand in Target. Come get my purse or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, you see her and she's saying, honey, let me tell you about this food. This is so good. Or giving you some kind of uplifting, those people talking about you, don't worry about them. What they think about you is not your business. And she does her little 20 seconds and she's off. She can talk to you for 20 seconds and she's off. And that's a whole nother thing people need to understand is you don't need to talk long. You don't need to post long. I do reels, 20 seconds, 90 seconds. That's good. You don't need to be on there forever. Yeah. I do long. Of course we do long podcasts, but I also do 1-minute clips, 90-second clips. So another thing about putting your content out there, just pop in and say, hi, God, I was just thinking about you guys, thinking it's a beautiful day. I hope you got outside today and had the sun on your face. Love you, bye. You know what I'm saying? So you can do that. Everybody has a different personality, and it depends on your personality, how you want to do it. But that's another way that you're going to get people to engage with you and people to follow you and people to support you. I've had people buy my books that don't even read, and they would tell me, I don't read, but I like what you're doing. So
I want to support you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want to support you. Here's money for 5 books. In fact, why don't you keep 3 of them and just send me 2? Give the other 3 away. Because I think I could figure out 2 people to give these to. I've had that happen. So when you're talking about authors, people don't have to even be readers to support you. If they like what you're doing, if they feel inspired by you as a person, they might buy your stuff and not even give it away. They might buy your stuff and tell you to keep it and give it away to somebody else. I've had that happen. So
these are great, Zen. I love these. I love these. What else are we not touching on, Zen, that you're like, oh no, we really need to kind of talk about this as well for the sake of our authors? What else is coming to mind for you? Because I don't want to miss something.
Well, putting yourself out there, go to your local bookstore, ask them if they have a section for indie authors. A lot of them will let you put your books in there for free if they don't have a section. Some have a little fee. Some will split, they'll do consignment, So that's another way to get your books out there. Go to your community center, see if they have any openings for you to come in and do book signings, because sometimes you can do it there for free, or coffee shops, or there's a lot of places, to do book signings where you don't have to book it and pay. I haven't paid to do a book signing yet, and I couldn't tell you how many I've done. I've done a lot. Haven't booked one venue. Okay. So a lot of times you can get access to spaces just because they think that you're going to bring a audience. And even if you don't, they'll love that you take pictures and post it on your social media. I'm going to be at so-and-so. Please join me for a great cup of coffee. You take a picture. That's free advertising for them. They don't know how many people follow you, so there are a lot of little coffee shops, community centers, or whatever, libraries I've had libraries pay me to come in. I've had libraries literally pay me to come in and do a talk, do a workshop. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you just go talk to people, just talk to them, bring your book with, I would say if you're an author, you should always have a copy of your book. Always. I have a backpack. I have all 4 of my books in my backpack. The only place I don't take them is someplace where I feel like they're going to open it and search it and say, you can't bring this in here. If it's anywhere else, I've got my backpack. And I was wearing these. I was at I wasn't at Cilantros. I was at a Mexican restaurant. I cannot remember the name of it right now. I was at a Mexican restaurant. I was wearing these. I walked by a table of 3 women. Okay. And they had one of them. I just looked over and I was like, that looks like Goodreads on her page. I was like, ladies, are you readers? They were like, yeah, we love to read. I was like, you see these? I'm an author. I have some books outside. Would you like me to tell you about the books I have? I sold 4 books to the 3 women next to me. Okay.
Nice.
I sell books all the time. I was in Small Cakes. I'm wearing these again. And the woman says, what kind of book is that? I said, I have a memoir. All I had with me that day was my memoir. I was like, I have a memoir, and it's about my healing journey. And she was like, I'm going through a divorce. Is there anything in there about that? I said, girl, it began the day I got divorced. And she was like, I'll buy it. She didn't even know how much it was. She didn't even ask me how much it was. She's like, I'll buy it. So I have sold books. I have sold books getting eyeglasses. I sold books at Target Optical to the guy who was framing my. So take your books with you. Literally take your books with you. Have them in your car. I used to sell a book a day, just going to the store. just talking to people, talk to people, hand out, and I'm not even being obnoxious. I'm not stopping every person I see. If a person smiles at me, I'm like, how you doing? It's nice to meet you. How's your day going? And then I might say, could I hand you something? Yeah. What you got? I got a bookmark. Here's a free bookmark for you. Oh, really? What kind of book? This is the kind of book. Oh, really? Where can I get? Well, I got some in my car. You want to see?
Just like that.
So it's all about just people.
Yeah.
People are not difficult to communicate with. And so many people, they're just, they're open. They really are. You know what I'm saying? So if you smile at somebody, they smile back, just say hi. Talk to them about your book.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Because you never know. I've sold so many books just by saying hi to somebody.
Yeah.
So,
It's amazing. And what I love too is value yourself. Value what you've put out into the world. Your audience values it. They're purchasing it. You need to value it as an author and be proud of what you've put out there, right? Because I think sometimes it goes back to that imposter syndrome a little bit, but people are like, well, I don't really want to be salesy. I don't want to come across as heavy-handed, none of that stuff, right? But at the same time, you can't negate the fact that you are a published author and you have a message for the world. So don't hide it. Don't hide that, right? So, I had one author talk about, they compared it to like being an evangelist for your book and just spreading the word about your book and just letting people know, right? That, hey, this is who I am. This is what I offer. If you're interested, great, let's talk. So I love that kind of visual that you're just out there sharing the good word about your book and letting people know who you are.
And I think you have to be very open. Once again, it's all about attitude. I'm not coming to anybody to try to force on them anything they don't want. I only want you to buy the book if you want the book, because I don't want you to buy anything you don't want. I'm not trying to take advantage of you in any kind of way. So I'm just letting you know, here is an opportunity. All right. If you want it, great. If you don't want it, that's great too. I'm not trying to convince you. I don't believe in, you don't need to convince people of anything. You just say, hey, could I hand you a bookmark? Oh yeah. What's the book about? I didn't walk up and say, hey, can I tell you about my book? No. Could I hand you a bookmark? So if you're giving things away, a lot of times people will listen to you and, or even with the podcast, I see somebody with their headphones in, I smile at them, they smile at me. I'm like, what you listening to? Is that music? No, I'm listening to a podcast. Really? I have a podcast. What's it about? It's about self-development and inspiration. Really? What's the name of it? Well, I'm going to tell you the name, but I'm going to give you a sticker. Here's a sticker. QR code. Here, right there. You got all the podcast links. You know what I'm saying? So.
Super smart. Smart. I love it.
Yeah.
I love your approach to this and the fact that you have something great to offer the world. And like, I can't imagine you stopping after 4. There's no way. You're just going to keep going and going and going. There's more things coming, right? And I just can't wait to see what the next thing is going to be.
I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a surprise to us both.
There you go. Right? There you go. I love it.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. So Zen, how do we find you? How do we find the podcast? How do we find the books? How do we connect with you? Where are you most active? All that interesting information. What do we do?
The podcast is called Zennurgy, Zennurgy. It's on 25 different streaming platforms. So if you got Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, you can find it pretty much anywhere. You can actually Google me. Zen Ase is 2 words, Zenase. So if you Google me, you can see my social media. You can see, if you put Zen Ase's books, you should be able to see all 4 of my books on Amazon. I do have a link tree. So if you go to any of my social media pages, Zen Ase Poetry on Instagram. Zennurgy also has a page on Instagram. Zennurgy has a page on Facebook. And Zen Ase has a page on Facebook. So if you go to the bio, the link tree is there. If you click on that, you can see that I have shows coming up. Like I have a live poetry, comedy, music show coming up on Saturday, the 26th. I do have an author book signing and book event on the 25th. I'm also doing a wellness workshop that same day. So I've got 2 events that day. So you'll see all of the different things that I have coming up, links on the link tree, as well as the links for the books are there. The links for the podcast are on the link tree. So that's pretty much where you can find me. And I'm on everything. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on, TikTok. I'm everywhere. So
it's a good thing you retired so you have time to do all these things.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. People would say, when do you sleep? 5 hours a day is when I sleep, whenever I get to sleep. Yeah.
I love it. Zen, thank you so much for being part of the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me.
What I love is that we can inspire some authors. We give such great practical tips. I can just imagine people going out to get earrings now with their books.
Yeah.
So they can do what you did, right? You got to tell us where you got those.
I got this on Etsy. And don't spend an arm and a leg, because I've seen them sold for like $15, $20. Mine were $8 each. So I don't remember the name of the person who did it, but you can look up book earrings, and I got these on Etsy, and I've had them for quite a while. I've had them for at least 3 months or so. So they're very durable, but I have one for I have 4 different ones for my 4 different books. So yeah.
Of course. It's such a great idea, right? And I love the fact that you're like, what? Oh, these? Oh yeah, my ear. Oh yes, yeah, my book. Yeah. That's so cool. That you're a walking billboard for your books. I am
a walking billboard.
It's great. Zen, thank you so much for being part of the podcast. And everyone will have links to all the things we talked about in the podcast. Please go over and listen to Zen's podcast. You can go there right from here. You could stay on the app you're listening. Just head over there right now. You could start. Is there an episode they should start at on your podcast?
The episodes are A to Z. Well, we're actually like in the I's right now, but they're not in alphabetical order. So it's up to them. They could start with episode 1 and go all the way to 109. For my memoir, there are 7 chapters from the memoir on the podcast. You actually could listen to the first 7 chapters of the memoir. They're spread out a little bit because I was recording them at different times. So I think the chapter 1 is like episode 62 or something like that. So it's pretty far in.
Okay.
But you could actually listen to the first 7 chapters of the memoir, because eventually it'll be a whole audio book. But right now it's being edited. So yes.
So when you go to the podcast, for Zen's podcast, make sure you like, follow, share, do everything, and let people know about the podcast as well. Please share it with your family and your friends. Please share links to Zen's website and the books. And if you need yourself some amazing earrings, now we got that as well. So thanks for being part of the podcast. So glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being part of Living the Next Chapter. Hey, look, we're having such a great time talking to authors around the world. If you are an author and you would like to be on this very show, I would love to talk to you. livingthenextchapter.com, livingthenextchapter.com, livingthenextchapter.com is the best way to get in touch with us. There you'll find our social media and blah, 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 la-di-da, and such. You, author, soon-to-be author, new author, currently writing your book author, published author, we need you here. The seat's empty, microphone set up, we're waiting for you. livingthenextchapter.com. We would love to have you on the podcast. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you should be here. We'll see you at livingthenextchapter.com.
Mindshift Power Podcast, the podcast for teenagers and those who work with them. There's a huge problem in America today. There's a very large disconnect between teenagers and the adults who work with them. I'm looking to bridge that gap with real, raw, honest conversation, not held back by the chains of political correctness. You cannot solve a problem you do not understand. Want to understand teenagers today? Listen to this podcast. This podcast is for teens in the U.S. and Canada. To learn more, go to fatimabay.com/podcast or just look for Mindshift Power Podcast on any listening platform. I look forward to you being a faithful listener.